Hello and welcome to Check Out This Guy. This is the podcast where I'm not sure what we're doing today. I didn't look at the topic. I'm Emery. My pronouns are they, she, he. Don't judge me.
Hi, I'm another host. I'm Izzy. So my pronouns are she, he, they.
I'm Patrick. I'm today's special guest. My pronouns are he, they. I'm excited to be here and talk about a type of guy.
Welcome.
Mm-hmm.
So,
what type of guy? I don't know
you
yet.
Don't know yet, which is exciting.
I do.
So, what do you two know about conventions?
Sometimes they're about furries, sometimes they're about comic books, sometimes they're about Star Trek.
Mm-hmm. I've been on the board of directors for conventions multiple times.
Ooh, fun. I ask because I have gone to a number of tabletop gaming conventions. I've gone to Gen Con now twice, which is the big one, the Geneva Convention. That's what it's called. That's why it's called Gen Con, by the way. It's the Geneva Convention. That's not a bit. It's the Geneva Wargaming Convention, which I think is just very, very funny. No one else had that name, so it's fine.
I think they're all clear.
So that had like 70,000 people over 4 days this year. And then there's also a very small gaming convention that is near where I went to college that last year had, I think, 50 people over the 3-day weekend. So really just the two complete opposite ends of the spectrum as far as size and number of people. But that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about guys. And
that's true.
You know what conventions have? That's right. They have a lot of guys.
Yeah, demo games.
They have demo games. So I actually have in front of me a physical binder as well as a physical notebook of character sheets and notes and sketches and all that sort of stuff of different characters from the different one-shots and demos and all that sort of thing that I've played over the many, many conventions that I've gone to, which I wanted to talk about both because there's a lot of fun guys in there and also because it's a fun type of guy to talk about. Because convention guys are great, in my opinion, because it kind of usually... So I guess for a bit of background, if people haven't been to a convention that had any sort of demo games or tabletop one-shots or anything, sometimes you will be given a character to play. Sometimes that will be, a complete character. Sometimes they'll give you a general outline and you can fill in, the name and the personality, but your stats and stuff are all already figured out. And sometimes you'll make a character there on the spot with the GM and whoever else is there. So that's, 3 types of guys that can show up. And they're all fun in their own ways because it's very fun to make up. I think maybe a hot opinion on this podcast, but making up guys is pretty fun.
Hell yeah.
I don't know. I've never thought about it before. Is that
like
true?
I said? That's hot, spicy opinion here. But it's also very fun to be given, half a character or 3/4 of a character and say, all right, what am I going to do with this? How is this mine now? This is mine. What am I going to play? How is this my toy to play with? How is this my guy now? And then I give him a little hug.
That's the eternal question. How do I make this mine?
How do I make this mine?
Mm-hmm. See, you have had probably a better experience than I have. I had to stop playing games with pre-gens because I got in trouble with the DM too many times.
I see.
Hey, if the only thing you give me about my character is they are extremely loyal to the captain, and if the captain is a traitor, my character's gonna side with the captain.
Yeah, fair enough.
And the GM really doesn't like that.
Fair enough.
Why bother having, an ethical quandary?
Uh-huh.
When you could simply play the character as written.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Sorry. That's my little bitch session.
You're fine.
I'm done.
You're totally fine. I've been lucky enough that most of the one-shots and stuff I've been in have been very good. I can't think of... I don't have any horror stories, and there are plenty of those that you hear about, but I luckily don't have them. You know, my biggest horror story is one time there was a game where there was another player who was a bit too... like, needed to plan everything out in advance, and, you know, we spent too much time planning things compared to how much time we spent actually doing things, which is, like, a slight annoyance and not a horror story in any way, shape, or form. To get back to the point, guys. The other great thing about conventions is that, especially if you're playing a whole bunch of different types of games, they're probably going to be of a whole different bunch of different type of genres, which means a whole bunch of different types of genres of guys. So just in my notes in front of me right here, I have a guy who's a computer program. I have a guy who's a slightly shitty teen. I got a bird lady. Let's see, who else do I have in front of me? I got cyberpunk guys. I got a wizard. And those are just... I got my friend Earl, who I'm sure I'll get to. But the point is, they're all... It gives you an excuse to really make up guys of a lot of different types and kind of push you out of your comfort zone in that way. And not be like, oh, you know, I normally make fantasy characters, so I'm going to make I'm going to make up a guy and make up a fantasy character. Just, hey, here's a sci-fi character. You know, here's a start for you, or here's, you know, some general guidelines. Then you can kind of go wild and make up your own guy.
Yeah, it's almost like an exercise of like, here's like several sets of constraints, like just do as many as you can.
And the other great thing about conventions is that there's other people there. So not only do you get to make up a guy, but you're making up a guy live with other people there who you then immediately get to play that guy off of. Because I know that I have a problem sometimes where I will come up with a guy and it's a great idea for a guy, but I don't really have anywhere to put him or anything to do with him. And it's like, cool, this is a great guy. This is the great theoretical concept of a guy. Would love to have him interact with others in the world in some way. Oh well. And when you're at a convention, that's a lot easier to avoid because you're kind of, again, forced to put your guys into situations. So,
yeah.
With that said,
I feel like a guy is not truly well defined until they've been put in a situation.
I would agree with that.
Yeah. I mean, isn't that what we do more than anything? Put them in the situations.
I mean, sometimes we love situations.
We're coming out as a pro situations podcast.
Yeah. Oh, wait. Oh, we're pro situations? Because I was talking about con situations.
Indeed you are.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's talk about some guys. Because like I said, I've got a physical binder in front of me. And I think my first guy I would like to talk about is my good friend Chisel.
Ooh, let's go.
Who's Chisel?
Chisel is a character from the game Code Warriors that I played at the Gen Con in 2024. So this was a game called Code Warriors. Everyone is a computer program. And I was an architect, like an architecture design program named Chisel. I will send a picture in the chat for you all to look at.
So what you're telling me is that this is a Digimon tabletop RPG?
Yes, this is a Digimon tabletop RPG.
So this was Chiselmon?
No, just Chisel. I'm posting Chisel for you all to look at. Little computer program guy.
Yeah, I think that's a Digimon.
You know what?
Yeah.
Now that you say that, that is a kind of a Digimon.
Yeah.
But yeah, the things about Chisel you need to know besides being an architecture program is, so a lot of these games will have you write down some a couple of key character traits, which I'm just going to mention for most of the characters, because when you're making the characters on the fly like this, it's good to just have, 2 or 3 real core things that you can fall back on as you build the character out. So for Chisel, I had pragmatic, honest, and dry, and his foci were fixing things and building the perfect table. So those were his two goals in life: fix things and build the perfect table.
I have a question.
Yes, Caller, go ahead.
Table like furniture or table like computer's table?
I think it was furniture, but it could be either, really. It could be both.
Mm-hmm.
It could be both. Yeah, so Chisel was a very fun character to play as. We were in a sort of Tron-type situation. We actually got to ride Tron bikes of, we're in a big computer, it's shutting down. If it shuts down, we're all going to cease to exist because we live inside the computer. So we got to stop that from happening. So we got to do, fun little adventure inside the computer. I got to be Chisel. There got to be these other computer programs. Got to do some fun stuff. My personal favorite that I remember is at one point we needed administrative codes to get into somewhere, like an administrative passkey. And you know what Chisel and architecture programs are good at? That's right, making things. So I just used an ability I had to that allows me to create anything that you can hold in 2 hands or smaller. And I was like, I'm just going to make that key card. And I did. And I love when you get to do stuff like that, which is another fun thing in these scenarios of everyone else, is talking to the guard, trying to get by. And I can be like, hey, Chisel has an idea. Chisel just walks up with the key card. I have that now.
Mm-hmm.
Which is also just, so it's, it makes a fun moment. It kind of gives you a moment for the character to stick in your head of, when I think of Chisel, that's the moment I think of.
Yeah. Yeah, seems like a pretty handy ability.
It was. So that's kind of like I said, I got a whole bunch of guys, so we're not going to spend too much time on any particular guy. But if you have any Chisel questions, now is the time.
Does I'm assuming Chisel doesn't digivolve, but if they did, what would they digivolve to?
I knew you were going to ask that.
Yes, and I have an answer, which is
okay.
Hey Alexa, what does digivolve mean? I don't actually have an Alexa. Hopefully that joke still works.
Great.
Probably a big like a backhoe or something like that, though.
Okay. Like a brake Dramon.
Yes, that.
Yes, exactly.
So this next one is going way back far enough that I actually don't still have the character sheet for this one, which is unfortunate. But, over the course of, I was going to say decade, which isn't quite right, but still probably over 10 years. Some of these I just don't have. I only started using this actual physical binder recently and had, other ways of storage before that. And so this was a character from a game in probably 2018 based on the hit video game Undertale. Ever hear about Undertale?
I see. Yeah. I'm tangentially aware of it.
Yeah, that's where Ezreal Dreamer is from.
Mm-hmm. That's where Toby Fox lives. After he stopped living in Homestuck.
That's right.
I thought Toby Fox lived Pokemon now.
He can live multiple places. He's allowed.
Yeah.
He has a vacation home in Pokemon.
That silly dog pops up all over the place.
Does.
That's his gimmick.
So
a dog named Fox.
A dog named Fox. So speaking of gimmicks, the gimmick of this particular one-shot that I was in, I don't remember the name of the system. I think it was a homebrew system that this person had made up just for this game. But it was set in the world of Undertale in the past during the actual war between humans and monsters that gets brought up quite a few times in, referenced as a major past event in Undertale. Spoilers for Undertale, is Undertale really like 8 years old now?
Mm-hmm.
At least? That's crazy.
Yeah, 2015.
Almost 10.
Almost 10 years old. So
Almost old enough to drive.
almost old enough to drive in a cosmic sense.
Yeah.
But so no.
Well, the last few years I think count for extra.
You know what?
It's like dog
You're
years. 2020's years count for
And
more.
Undertale was made by Toby Fox, who is a dog, who is a silly little dog. So I think
Oh, that's right.
that also means dog years apply here. But speaking,
Undertale is old enough to run for president.
yeah, no, that's true.
In dog years, Undertale is old enough to retire.
Damn. Wish that were me.
Oh, same.
Yeah. Anyway, the point is that this game was based on, the past in Undertale, and specifically there were 7 characters based on the 7 humans who existed in the past in Undertale, who you get different equipment from, not directly, but inherited by, kind of. Spoilers for Undertale. Again, a 8-9-year-old game. But my character was the one who is associated with I think the boxing glove and the bandage. So a big fighty guy.
Okay.
And I remember this being a fun game. I'm trying to remember. I think his name was, let me think, like I said, because this was 6-7 years ago. And so I don't have his name written down, but it was, I think it was Brock. It was something like that. Point is, even though I don't remember all the details, this is a guy that I have some fond memories of, which is, again, kind of going back to the general thesis of con guys are fun. But the point is, this happened during the Great War, and since it was an Undertale thing, a lot of the people playing were treating it like Undertale, which is, a game where you don't have to kill anybody. You don't have to hurt anybody. And that's understandable. But I kind of take a different approach of, hey, this is, a war, which aren't traditionally good, fun times, I think. Another hot opinion. War, thumbs down.
Yeah, no, can't say I'm a fan of war.
No,
I would ask, what is it good for?
absolutely nothing.
Say it again. All right, I'm glad that
It ain't a good one, Chief.
Yeah. Oh, you meant war isn't a good one. I thought you meant my good reference. Because that was a good reference.
Yeah.
That was a good one.
Yeah, I mean...
Yeah, and I totally missed the reference. I didn't know you were doing one.
It was like, that's why I gave the return.
Yeah, it's an old song. War, what is it good for? Absolutely nothing. Point is, I was a character who was, I don't want to say prejudiced against monsters, because that feels a little strong to say, but was in the middle of a war zone, at war, primarily with monsters. And so, wasn't a fan at the time. Which meant that when we got to the climax, I got to do a cool thing. Because the climax of the little adventure related to creating the big bubble in Undertale that keeps all the monsters inside and all the humans outside. And basically there were I think the 6 of us playing, plus an NPC character who needed to work together to make this big bubble work to, stop the war, even though it does mean, separating the 2 worlds. we were told, we really needed all 7 of us to be able to do this. We did have one an extra monster who came in to be able to help. And then the NPC character betrayed everyone else, said, no, I'm not doing this. All the monsters deserve to die. I'm doing a genocide.
Damn.
Mm-hmm.
Damn. Not good. Another thing that I'm not a fan of. But,
yeah.
It did lead to a moment, though, where I kind of like, everyone else was totally on board with this plan. I seemed like I was on the fence. And kind of was like, okay, you said you need 7 people. Could you do it with 6? Kind of implying in a way that I was not going to be part of the plan and not participate.
Mm-hmm.
But that wasn't the reason I asked that. The reason I asked that was because, as I mentioned, the NPC character had betrayed the rest of us. We were on a big bridge over a pit of lava in the Hotland area of Undertale. And my character was going to just bull rush them, grab them, and have them both fall into the lava.
Damn.
Wow.
Okay. Hit him with the old yellow Zelkova.
Yes, hit him with that. So that was a really fun...
That's a character from Sonic X who dies on screen in lava.
I see.
Oh, okay.
I love that guy.
I think dying by lava is one of the worst ways to go.
So true. That's what the Terminator said when he went.
That's not what he said.
Pretty sure that's how that scene went.
That was, technically that was molten steel.
Mm-hmm. Molten steel is nature's lava.
That's true. I'm always saying this.
I'm over here. I'm like, I know responding further is going to do me no good.
The point I was just trying to make is just that this was a fun character who, even though I don't remember a lot of the details of because it was 7 years ago, I remember this very distinct moment of this character kind of changing at least his outward opinion, where he had been, everyone had kind of seen him as rude and mean and a jerk, and him going, you know what? No, this sucks, but this is the way, this is the correct way to end everything, to end this war, to make things right, and to stop all the violence. And if it means throwing myself into a volcano while holding someone else so that everyone else can stop that, then that's what it's going to have to be.
Mm-hmm.
I do remember the plan didn't end up working out for reasons relating to basically the short version is the person running it wanted to have the big boss fight, which is understandable if you're doing a one shot. You prepped the big boss fight, that's understandable. It's a one-time thing. I don't want to take that away from everyone else. But in my headcanon, that's how that happened. That's how Brock died.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, we know all about plans not going the way you think they're gonna go in tabletop role-playing games in this podcast.
Oh, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Mine never do.
Well,
and it's good.
It is good when things go wrong. And if we want to talk about things that go wrong, then let me tell you about skeletons.
Oh no!
Ah! Sorry, I scared myself because there's a picture of a skeleton on this page.
That's so frightening.
It's really frightening. No, this was from a game called Adventure Skeletons that I played at my local public library. And there were just the two of us playing plus the person running the game. The other player was the skeleton Jim Bones, and my name was Phil Angies.
Mm-hmm. That is a name I would expect from you.
Yeah, you're right. It is. Because it's good. And the basic premise of this was that we were undead guards of a ancient tomb there to keep the place safe forever until, hundreds of thousands of years pass. We're still there. That's the great thing about skeletons and undead. They don't stop working until we just had to leave. I'm trying to remember the exact impetus for our leaving, but I don't recall offhand, and I don't want to page through all my notes for that specific little detail. The important thing is that it was just it was a farce in which me and my friend Jim Bones just got to run around doing funny skeleton things, being very confused about all these non-skeleton people, and eventually saving the day. And by saving the day, I mean fixing the door to our master's place that we had to protect. And so at the end of our big adventure, Phil and Jim Bones went back to just guarding that tomb for another 1,000 years.
Good on them.
As you do.
And that's another, that's just like a little guy. Is sometimes I think, hey, remember Phil? That was a good guy.
Wonder how they're doing. Still guarding that tomb,
Still
I bet.
guarding that tomb.
What do they do to pass the time?
That's a good question.
I know, that's why I asked it.
I mean, do you want the real answer? Because it's kind of funny.
I want the answer Patrick's going to give me.
So the answer is that they just kind of try to laugh and have fun, do things that are a little humorous.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. God damn it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I could do.
You walked right into that one, you see?
You kind of set me up for that one, and I thank you for that.
No, I intentionally set Patrick up for that.
Exactly.
That's
you really
why I said I wanted that answer.
Yeah, you really, really teed me up perfectly for that one, which I appreciate.
Mm-hmm.
But all that talk about my wonderful friend Phil leads me to another great thing about con guys, or in this case, not a con, but still, an event at my local public library, is that Phil lives in my head rent-free now. And if I'm doing something else where I'm running a game and I suddenly need a skeleton, or someone else that, a skeleton would make sense to be there, then I can just kind of call upon Phil to fill that to fill that narrative space. And
Phil's pulling some extra shifts.
He really is. And it's great because, we have a lot of characters. I know that I've talked about my good friend Roger Rabbit, my friend Dr. Algernon Hugh. At some point, I'm going to talk about other people. And those are all great characters, but they're pretty full characters, pretty well-rounded characters. We know a good amount of who they are as people and what they have going on. I think does that make sense, what I'm saying?
Sure, let's say that.
Well, I guess not Roger so much, but Dr. Hugh, people like our fellowship characters that are, more fully, they have a whole story attached to them. But then having these little con guys, like my friend Phil, is great because I couldn't really take Roger Rabbit, out of that story and throw him into somewhere else unless that was, a whole thing. He couldn't, a lot of characters can't really be, little side B characters that the players meet in these games because of the nature of player characters. I couldn't have Roger Rabbit be a side character that the players meet at a tavern. That wouldn't work.
Mm-hmm.
But having someone like Phil, who's just kind of not a blank slate, but has a couple of these key personality traits, and otherwise can be, slotted in, it's, he just is he kind of gives a good skeleton of a character.
Okay.
That wasn't all a lead up to that joke. That was an actual thing I was saying, but it was also a lead up to that joke.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think there's something about like having a character that's like generic enough that they can kind of fill any roles, but like still fleshed out enough that they're like, still their own distinct character.
Exactly. And I think the great thing about cons is because you get to make a bunch of these guys, is you can have that, but a little bit more specific. So, for example, Chisel doesn't make as much sense in this scenario because he is a computer program. But if I needed, some sort of architect type character, I could bring in Chisel of, maybe change some details around. But I have, in my head, here's, my architect character. If I need an architect, I can grab Chisel and, adjust Chisel as needed for the scenario.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's it's kind of building out a huge library of guys, a library of guys.
I'm not going to say a guybrary.
I bet you did.
Yeah, you did.
Nope, I just said that I wouldn't.
You know
But
what?
you did
Fair point.
anyway.
It doesn't count.
Apologies, I had to sneeze there for a moment. Hopefully. Thank you.
Gesundheit.
Mm-hmm.
I did mute myself, so no one outside of here knows about it, except that I told everyone with my voice. I know that Star Trek conventions got mentioned earlier.
Mm-hmm.
What if I told you there's a Star Trek game?
There is indeed.
There is, and I got to play in one.
Star Trek, one of the classic cons.
It's Star Trek, one of the classic cons, next to only
Yeah, Star Trek 2.
3. Yeah, you're right.
The Wrath of Khan.
Yeah, that's better than what I was going to go with. I was going to say Star Trek, one of the classic cons, along with 3-card Monty.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I'm always getting swindled by Star Trek.
Well, you know what a 3-card Monty in Star Trek is, right?
A Royale with cheese. Because of the metric system.
No, it's when you give Montgomery Scott 3 cards.
Okay. That's a lot better than me doing the stupid Pulp Fiction joke that I love to make about a Royale with cheese.
About hamburgers.
Here's the thing. I am unfortunately an American, and therefore hamburger.
Why did that make me laugh?
Because you're also an American. And so you understand that at our core, hamburger. No, but Star Trek. I got to play as a character named Adira Sewell, who was a Bajoran. I should note, I have seen very little. Sorry, I don't know if you can you hear that? You'll
No.
apologies.
I can only hear my own background noise.
No, there's someone in the apartment above me, like clogging, like stomping.
What the fuck?
For a moment, yeah, and it was just weird. Sorry, you'll have to cut this out, probably parts of it. But yeah, sorry, I was flummoxed, and also wanted to make sure that wasn't coming up in the audio.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I'm back from the confusing dimension, and speaking of being confused, I have seen very little Star Trek. I've probably seen less than 5 episodes of the show in total across my whole life.
Mm-hmm.
Probably less than 10. I maybe have seen more than 5. Just with, hanging out with friends who are watching it or seeing it in the background or whatever else. So I have this Star Trek character now who is from a world that I don't fully understand.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
After the podcast, I can fully tell you about Bajor?
Oh no, so yeah, I have it. You don't have to. Don't worry. My friend Cody has that under control. But no, because the reason I bring that up is because this is another this is a great way to get introduced to Star Trek or whatever else. Hey, here is what's the word for in a movie when there's a character who's the audience surrogate? There's a specific term for that, I think, besides audience surrogate. Like a fish out of water.
I don't know. I think audience surrogate is the right word for it. I can't think of anything else.
It's very possible you're right, and I'm thinking of something else. Point is, it's this, in film, in television, in books, you often have this audience viewpoint character, this fish out of water who can be used to explain to you, the audience, and this new character, oh, here's how things in this world work that you, as the audience member / you as this person unfamiliar with the area, would not know. And so having a character like Adira, who is actually a fish out of water and actually is the audience viewpoint, with the audience being me, it's a fun way to get introduced to a world that you don't know too much about, such as Star Trek. The other example I have of that is, so I've never seen the movie Blade Runner, unfortunately, even though I've heard that's pretty good. I have seen the video game Snatcher, though, which is basically the same thing.
Sure, why not?
If you're familiar with both Snatcher and Blade Runner, then that's a really funny joke.
I am familiar with both. I did not laugh.
Okay, well, I
am laughing now, though.
If you're familiar with Blade Runner and Snatcher and also have a bad sense of humor, then you'll find that really funny. Because I think that might be a little more accurate.
Oh, I just want to deny you the laughter.
Yeah, understandable. But I played in the official Blade Runner RPG a character named Francis, who was a human, and similar to the Star Trek character, this was my first real introduction into this setting, this world, which is a very fun way to kind of fully immerse yourself in this media that you don't really know too much about. So having a guy who's like Francis or like Adira lets you enter these new worlds. These new... Isn't there a Star Trek called like New World or something?
Strange New Worlds.
Strange New World, yes, thank you. Yeah, so you can use this guy to enter. You can use guys as as an opportunity to enter strange new worlds. Strange new worlds. Strange new worlds.
Strange new worlds. Now hold on. Are you telling me that you're getting to enter like regular old worlds?
That's what it's called when I wake up and get out of bed in the morning.
Yeah, me too, buddy.
Yeah. But all this is all kind of preamble to talk about probably one of my favorite characters that we're going to talk about today, Osric the Eager. So this was for a game called Beyond the Threshold, which is similar to D&D in a lot of the setting, though a little more harsh as far as closer to old school D&D with, things can get very deadly very quickly. But Osric is special to me because he is wonderful. Osric is a human, and imagine in your head a wizard, stereotypical wizard. What does stereotypical wizard look like to you?
Some robes, I bet.
You got the robes.
Maybe a pointy hat.
Exactly. So the thing is, Osrin has no hat.
Oh my god.
And that's not just a fashion choice. This was a very important part of his story that I decided upon.
Uh-huh. Is his head a little bit too big?
No, it's not that.
And that defines his character?
It's that as a wizard, you have to be part of, certain wizarding schools and wizarding apprenticeships, wizarding guilds, wizarding unions. And in this world, I decided that the part that Osrin is in, each different, rank of, apprentice, master, journeyman, all those have a different hat associated with them.
Mm-hmm.
And this hat is irreplaceable. You can only have, you get one. You get one hat. And if you lose it, that's on you. So, you'll never guess what happened to Osrin.
Oh no, it lost?
He lost his hat.
Rip.
His hat got stolen in the night.
Oh no.
And now no, he can't be identified at a glance as a wizard because he doesn't have the hat. And so he has gone on this great quest to do whatever he can to either find his hat or, more likely, in order to prove himself worthy enough to get to the next level of the Wizard Guild, at which point he would then be given a new hat for the new rank. Then he'd be good. Then, no, I'm not climbing the corporate ladder. I just needed to climbing the corporate ladder exactly one rung so I can get a cool new hat.
Yeah, just doing it for the next
exactly. But Osrin, as mentioned, is a wizard even if he doesn't have his hat, and had a couple fun spells that he could use. Specifically, the two that he used the most were Magic Rope and Obstruct.
Mm-hmm.
So Obstruct was just creating a big shield, which was fun because we had in this another character with the help of Osrin and a third character took a cannon and made it a shoulder-mounted cannon, which ruled and was a lot of fun. But the important thing to this is that Osrin then frequently would use this barrier to protect innocents from the collateral damage of having a friend who has a full-blown cannon as a shoulder cannon. Because that's dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other one, Magic Rope. Magic Rope was so much fun to use because it is not making a magic rope. It is taking a piece of rope and it makes it into a living creature of rope, which is fun both because, it's fun because you can then have, the living rope go tie people up or, slither up a wall so that then you can use the rope to climb up. But it also just means that I kind of flavored it as this is the same magic rope every time that Osrin has. That's basically almost like a familiar that he, that only is briefly summoned and is also a rope.
Okay.
And that's, I think, fun. That's a fun concept to have just familiar that is rope. And
yeah, that's
it's
pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone was always hyped whenever the rope came out. This was a game that was only probably 4, maybe 5 hours. But every time the rope came out, everyone was hyped because it was the rope. It was the magic rope.
Oh shit, it's rope.
It's rope.
Yeah.
So, together with the rope, Osrin did stuff like throw the rope onto a harpy that was flying and then have the magic rope kind of tie up the harpy's wings from up there, causing the harpy to crash to the ground. Use the rope at one point to slither under a door and then open the door handle from the other side, which isn't really what rope is traditionally used for. But if it's a magic rope that can kind of move and loop itself around stuff, then you can let your imagination run wild.
Mm-hmm.
Your only limit is your imagination. I also do have, and I will have to find the picture of him, but I do have a meeple representation of Osrin, who is just the most wonderful little man. Everyone in that game got to be represented by a meeple, and Osrin's was very accurate to how I chose he actually looked like.
Good.
And as mentioned, Osrin the Eager was eager. So that's another fun character trait to have for someone, of always wanting to be first on the scene and first to do something and very eager to help, often to others' detriment of sometimes other people are the correct. Sometimes you don't have the right tool for a problem.
Mm-hmm.
And
we love a character who makes bad decisions all the time.
Oh, if we want to talk about bad decisions, I can tell you about bad decisions.
Let's go.
Tell us about bad decisions.
So, this was technically not a one-shot, but it might as well have been, because I only played it 2 times. This was at my college's D&D club, where we were playing Vampire the Requiem. And because of me only finding out about the club most of the way through the semester and other things like that, scheduling issues, I only ever got to play once or twice. But this is how I met my good friend Cody, who I'm still friends with to this day, and we talk all the time. I think I mentioned Cody earlier, who's they were the one who I played in the Star Trek game with.
Mm-hmm.
And let me tell you about Winston Kaneko. Because Winston was a person who made bad decisions.
Let's go.
Yeah.
So, let's say you are a vampire, and you own a bookstore. You own a used bookshop. You know that there are people hunting vampires, and some other vampires that you don't know come in to try to stop the vampire hunters. Basically, they're looking for any texts you might have in your large used bookstore that might be able to help them with vampire hunters. The correct thing to do. What do you think is the correct thing to do in this situation?
Probably eat some blood or something. I don't know.
Provide them with a book about turntables.
Oh, with the turntables?
Yeah.
Why turntables?
Well, the hunter becomes the hunted.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to go for like an MC joke of some sort, and I was very excited.
No.
Turntables.
No, how the turntables.
How the turntables have turned tables. No, the answer probably isn't to allow most of them in, but then kick one of them out on his own because he did something to slightly irk you when you know there's vampire hunters out. So you never guess what happened to the one vampire that Winston kicked out of his bookstore.
Did they get got by
They
by
got
hunters?
got by hunters. So that was bad decision number 1.
Mm-hmm.
So Winston then joined these other vampires to try to rescue John, the vampire who had been kidnapped. And I'm trying to figure out how to best phrase this without it making me sound horrible. But Winston was threatened by these other vampires in his party. Not, they weren't threatening him directly, but he was afraid that they were going to I think they had made a threat against his bookshop. And so he did what anyone would do in that situation, which is grab one of the other vampires and take them hostage. And say, no, you have to leave. I know that you came into my bookstore earlier for help. And I know that you've been nothing but kind to me for the most part, maybe a little irritating. But I am going to grab one of you and hold you hostage and threaten everyone and say, you all have to leave and leave me alone, or else I'm going to do something. I haven't thought that part through yet. Because that's like 2, 3, 4, like 5 more bad decisions stacked on top of each other, probably. Which is a number of bad decisions.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, seems like the opposite of de-escalating a situation.
De-escalating, if you will.
Okay.
And I will.
Emery, you and I famously do not de-escalate situations in gaming. We have no room to talk.
Sometimes I play a face who's actually good at it.
I mean, you did in our first game.
Yeah.
First game? Which one was that?
Our fellowship game.
Yeah.
I would consider Gilly to be a party face.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure if there was something prior to Gilly that I wasn't aware of. My apologies.
But still.
Yeah, no, you joined that group like 4 sessions in. Mm-hmm. You didn't miss much.
I didn't think I did.
And well, that game was nothing but escalation, pretty much.
Speaking of escalation, the situation did continue to escalate after Winston took this other vampire hostage. And long story short, he got put into a vampire coma.
Oh no.
But what is a vampire coma?
Nothing much. What's a vampire coma with you? No, vampires in Vampire the Requiem have something called torpor, I think is how it's pronounced, which is basically...
Okay.
Yeah, when...
Yeah.
Oh, yep.
Yeah, we're recording this on like one of the second shortest day of the year. I know exactly what you're talking about.
So that happened. They got put into torpor. That's a hard thing to say. This is that one of you was supposed to say it with and have no problems with it to show that I was incompetent.
Torpor? Is that what you wanted?
Yeah. Yes. Thank you. That's perfect.
You're welcome.
But that was just a series of bad decisions. That's a character who has never come up again, but is someone I still think about of, man, that guy made bad decisions.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how much time we have. It has been about 53 minutes, according to my...
Yeah.
Do I have time for one last guy?
Yeah, we can do a quick one.
Yeah, give us one last guy.
One last guy. So, let me tell you about Bobby Blades, a.k.a. Razor Shade.
This sounds like a cyberpunk.
This was not actually. This was a superhero game.
Okay. You set me up for failure.
You know what? I did, and I apologize. I wasn't trying to. That's sometimes just how the dice fall.
Yeah. I rolled a 1.
You rolled a 1. No. Bobby Blades, aka Razor Shade, was on a team of superheroes who were everyone's 5th, 6th choice. They're not the guys you call when there's a problem. They're not the guys you call when those guys aren't available. They're the guys you call when you have a problem and no one else is available.
Mm-hmm.
Bobby had the incredible power of throwing battle spinners, which I was definitely just imagining Beyblades the whole time, but you can imagine batarangs or whatever stand-in you want. The power to throw those with up to 50 feet with 50% accuracy.
Mm-hmm.
Which is 50%. That's pretty good, I think.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. 50% on like any trick shot you want, basically.
Yeah, exactly. That was the fun way to do it, is I realized, I can do whatever trick shots I want and have a 50-50 chance of it. It does also mean I have a 50-50 chance of just flubbing a regular shot.
Yeah.
But Bobby Blades had these battle spinners, so I kind of was imagining him as sort of a Batman type. But I decided to go with the edgy, grimdark Batman that people do rather than the fun Batman that's actually good. Hence the name.
We are in absolute agreement.
Yeah. This is all-star Batman and Robin style Batman we're talking about. For those who are familiar with all-star for those who aren't familiar, that's the bad one. If you ever see a comic panel of Batman and say, wow, that seems really out of character, it's probably that one. That's the one where there's a pretty infamous panel of him slapping Robin and calling him a slur.
Incredible.
And also the one where he is like holding Robin up by the scruff of his neck and says, kid, you've just been drafted into a war. Like 12 hours after his parents were murdered.
Great.
Real.
Thanks, Batman.
Thanks, shitty Batman. So that's where the name Razor Shade comes from, is because he was dark and edgy. But also because Blades. But it was just a fun character to play because, Batman is the world's greatest detective. I think we all know this. And so, obviously, Razor Shade, Bobby Blades, can't be the world's greatest detective. But he could be something else. So, while he wasn't the world's greatest detective, he was, in fact, the world's biggest dick.
Okay.
And that's
I see what you did there.
Thank you. I'm glad you see what I did there. And so the thing is, that's a funny bit to do. What made it excellent, though, is that I was the only one. I brought that up as something he's called, and that's that. We move on. But then every so often, whenever Bobby did make any sort of really good deduction or figure something out, one of the other players would always, without fail, say, "Great job, Dick." And that's always it killed every time.
Great.
He also eventually, over time, started to take in a young ward of Marlon Rando, who was a small child who had powers around randomness, and Bobby could understand his plight because Bobby, too, couldn't originally control his powers, and it used to be that he could only throw these blades with varying between 48 and 52% accuracy, depending on the day. But thanks to years of training and dedication, he got to a solid 50%. You also mentioned earlier that he has a 50-50 chance of whatever trick shots he wants working, which is technically true. How many trick shots do you think he actually managed to do with that 50-50 chance? How many of them do you think he got that good 50-50 on?
I'm gonna guess not 50%.
It was none of them. It was for every time he tried to do a trick shot, it failed. Some of his regular shots worked fine, but the big trick shots, they failed without fail.
Yeah. The two genders.
Fail and without fail.
That's right.
Isn't that just one gender? The human gender?
No, I think it's two.
You either have the gender or you don't, is what I was thinking.
That's right. Yeah.
There's only one gender. The human gender.
So true.
So true. Lots to think about.
All right. That's a lot of guys. We covered some ground.
We did.
Yeah.
We covered cyberpunk. We covered the inside the computer. We covered wizards. We covered superheroes. We covered Star Trek. We covered Undertale.
Many such genres.
I think it's pronounced genres, but yes.
All right, Patrick, where can we find you?
The main spaces you can find me are on Blue Sky, because that's a website that is not falling apart horribly. I say this is something that's hopefully going to age well and not be something entirely untrue in the next 6 months.
Yeah.
You can find me at shadowsandbag.bsky.social, where I make posts occasionally. And you can also find me on Itch.io at Warm Shade Games, where I have a couple just small little games that I've worked on. I have a fun journaling game that I really want to go back and do some more revisions on called To Be a Master. I have another game I've been working on called Candy Valley, which was a fun kind of tabletop friendly, very kid-friendly tabletop RPG. And I also have some playbooks for the game Monster Hearts and for Fellowship. A couple things like that. So if you're interested, you can find that again at warmshadegames.itch.io. And those are really the two main places that I'm at. So, thanks for having me on. Thanks for letting me talk about like 8 different guys.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming. This might be one of the highest guy by volume episodes we've had.
Yeah. We need you to come back so we can complete the sets for our fellowship games.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, true.
Absolutely.
Emery, go ahead.
All right, I'm on the dang podcast called We Rate Queerbait, where we do the thing from the title. We explore the blurry line between homie and homo. I'm on a damn audio drama called The Disappearances of Lydia Fontaine. New episodes 2025, baby. And I'm on DeFreakin' for Affinity with the username Space Robot. I haven't posted in a while. I'm a little out of date. Oops. Oh well.
Okay. I'm Izzy. I don't have social media, but I do have a Fur Affinity that I haven't posted on since July or August. So right there with you, buddy. Yeah. And if you want to talk to me, you can join us in the Discord in the show notes. It's a really fun place where we typically do streams of some sort on Mondays and Fridays in the evenings.
I can attest to the fact that it's a fun place. Source. Trust me.
It's one of the places where Patrick posts, and Patrick will never stop posting.
It's true. You can't stop me.
So true.
Yep. And this podcast is part of the Noisepace.xyz podcast network. There are a lot of really good, cool shows on there.
Hell yeah. All right. I think that's it.
Yep. Too many guys. We ran out of energy at the end.
Mm-hmm. Too many guys.
I never had energy to begin with.
I know. I was trying to be nice.
Takes a lot to make a guy.
That's true. All right. Until next time, we got to recharge for next week.
All right.
Got to reabsorb that guy making energy.
Yeah, I'm gonna digi-charge.
No.
Not a thing. You can digi-soul charge, but not digi-charge. That's nothing. What you just said is nonsense.
Okay, but can you digi-soul charge to the poles?
Yes, of course. Bye, everyone.
Bye.